LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
To kids, summer isn't just time off. It's time spent building confidence and curiosity. But when school meals pause, millions of kids lose access to the food they count on during the school year. As a neighbor-led network, Feeding America is deeply rooted in every community, ensuring summer meals continue nourishing growth and potential. Your support puts healthy food within reach, fueling the future for kids and their families. Give now at feedingamerica.org/summerhunger.
Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts. I'm your host and resident medium, Jennifer, and I welcome you tonight into my spirit parlor. Settle in, it's a warm summer evening, and tonight we're going to continue our conversation about the clairs, but we're moving away from testing them individually and into something closer to a living experience. Because while it's helpful to understand the clairs as separate intuitive senses, that's not usually how intuition shows up in real life. Intuition doesn't arrive neatly labeled, and it doesn't announce which clair is speaking, and it rarely comes through one channel at a time. Most of the time, intuition is blended. So why do we learn about the clairs separately then? When people first begin exploring intuition, we often break the clairs into categories: clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, because it gives the mind something to grasp, to hold onto. It helps us recognize what's happening. It gives language and terms to experiences we may have had our entire lives without realizing they were intuitive. But eventually, if we stay in development long enough, something shifts. We can stop asking, which clair is this? And we start noticing how information actually arrives, not as a single signal, but as a layered experience. So blended intuition often can feel like a knowing that arrives with a physical sensation, a feeling that carries meaning without words, or a thought that appears fully formed along with emotion or imagery, and a body response that immediately includes understanding. Instead of one clair speaking alone, if you're paying attention, you'll notice multiple sensations working together. And this is important to understand because many people dismiss their intuition simply because it doesn't match how they expected it to appear. Maybe you're waiting to see something, but your intuition comes in as feeling and knowing. Or you're listening for words, but your intuition comes in with sensation. Blended intuition is subtle, efficient, and can be deeply unique. Let me give you an example of how this often works. Imagine you walk into a room and immediately feel uncomfortable. You don't see anything unusual, you don't hear a voice telling you to leave, but your chest tightens and your shoulders pull up slightly, and at the same time you just know you don't want to stay. That's not just clairsentience, that's clairsentience paired with claircognizance. Your body feels it first, your intuition understands second, and together they form a complete message. Most people have experienced this, they just didn't label it as intuition. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with intuition is because they're looking for something dramatic. They're waiting for a clear image, a clear voice, a moment that feels unmistakably spiritual. But intuition can speak in ordinary ways. It can feel like a quiet preference or a subtle pull, a sense of alignment or misalignment, or a gentle certainty that doesn't need explanation. Blended intuition is often mistaken for instinct, mood, or coincidence, especially in people who have lived very grounded, practical lives. But intuition doesn't need to look mystical to be real. So let's talk about how the clairs can support one another. Think of the clairs less like separate abilities and more like instruments in a small ensemble. Sometimes one takes the lead, sometimes another supports quietly in the background, and sometimes they move together so seamlessly you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. For example, clairvoyance may offer a symbol, and then clairsentience adds emotional context, and claircognizance delivers understanding. If you're only focused on one, or waiting for your expected clair to show up, you may be isolating or ignoring other aspects of your intuition that are coming in, and the message can become thinner. When you allow them to blend, intuition becomes richer, fuller, and often easier to trust. This blending becomes especially clear in mediumship. Rarely does a spirit communicate through only one channel, and the connection might arrive as a feeling, followed by a memory that isn't yours, accompanied by a knowing about who the spirit is or what they want to share. Oftentimes, if I get a clairvoyant message, a picture in my mind's eye, I will pause and breathe and say, what feeling is associated with this visual? And more often than not, something will be there. Or I notice that it is already accompanied by a feeling or a sentiment. And sometimes it'll be the other way around. I will get a feeling, and then suddenly I will get a visual that kind of solidifies the whole experience. If you're waiting for one specific form, like images only or words only, you may miss a lot more of what's coming through. And this is why expectation can be such a barrier. Spirit will use whatever pathways are available, not necessarily the ones you prefer. So I often say, leave your expectations at the door. Surrender to trusting Spirit, trusting your reading, and be curious. Play with that space. Every reading I do is unique and such a fascinating experience. I'm always so moved and completely astounded by what could come through. Let's shift gears and talk about when people say they're not intuitive. Often when someone says they aren't intuitive, what they really mean is they don't receive information the way they were told intuition should look. They may be deeply intuitive with body awareness, emotional resonance, or have immediate knowing, but because it doesn't arrive as imagery or voices, they discount it. Blended intuition doesn't ask for recognition. It just moves in. It is up to us to quietly observe and to notice and to start to recognize what the experience feels like. So I encourage you to strengthen blended intuition. Instead of trying to develop one clair at a time, try working with intuition as a whole. Here are a few gentle ways that you can do that. Start with noticing your first impression before analysis begins, and pay attention to how your body responds before your mind starts explaining things. Trust information that arrives complete without effort. Sit with intuitive moments without needing to define them. I think as human beings, we like to find the analytical proof of something. And when we do that with our intuition, we will rip it apart until there's nothing left. We have to be comfortable with the unknown, the undefinable. It just is. When you do have an intuitive moment, ask yourself less, what clair is this? And more of what is being communicated. And don't forget stillness. Blended intuition thrives in stillness. It's not forced stillness, but a natural, easeful quiet When the mind is busy categorizing, labeling, or evaluating, intuition fragments. But when our attention softens, intuition weaves itself back together. This is why intuitive insight often arrives in the shower, just before sleep, or during repetitive or calming tasks. The mind is taking a step back, and the clairs can speak together. Also, one of the most important things to release in intuitive work is performance. Intuition is not something you demonstrate. Blended intuition doesn't need to impress. It doesn't rush. It doesn't repeat itself loudly if you ignore it. It trusts you to notice. It is very easy for your human brain to speak up and say, no, I need to be in control of this. I don't want to look silly or foolish, because your human mind, your ego, is only interested in keeping you safe and not feeling hurt. So make sure to take the time to self-support and have that knowledge that you're working with something greater than yourself, and build that relationship with trust and faith as you go. There should be a point in intuitive development where the goal stops being mastery and becomes integration. Stop trying to sharpen each sense individually and start allowing intuition to move as a whole system, as part of you. This is often when intuition feels calmer, steadier, and more trustworthy. It doesn't have to be flashy, just more consistent and part of your life. Let's share a gentle reflection. This can be done now, or remember this as a journaling prompt. If you like, take a moment to reflect and think of a time when you just knew something. And then ask yourself, was there a feeling involved? A body sensation? A quiet certainty? Did you see something, sense something, know something? Chances are more than one clair was present, and chances are you didn't have to work for any of it. We don't have to reach and try. These moments happen without our asking, without our reaching, because your clairs are innately yours. So as we close tonight, let me say, intuition isn't meant to be dissected endlessly. The clairs are helpful guides, not rigid categories. When intuition flows naturally, they all can blend very beautifully together. Your job isn't to separate the clairs. Your job is to notice them, and you shouldn't force them either. Your only role is to notice them and to be open to receive. And the more gently you listen, the more clearly your intuition speaks. I hope you enjoyed our chat this evening. Thank you so much for joining me in my spirit parlor. For those who support my Patreon, I will have a lovely downloadable illustrated printable as a keepsake to remind you of the mystical topics we talked about this evening. You can visit my Patreon at patreon.com/italktoghosts. Have a lovely week and take care.